On today's show, KB and I are going to be discussing the character of Batman. He's going to be getting his own star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And then, Krysten Ritter, does she want to play Jessica Jones again, or is she all set with the role? And then Avengers Endgame is being re-released, and we have some details on what's going to be included on the re-release. And then Kevin Feige explains why Spider-Man Far From Home is wrapping up Marvel's Phase 3 in the MCU. And speaking of Marvel MCU, we have some potential leaks from the Black Widow set. All this on this episode of Free Your Geek.
By the power of Grayskull, Autobots, roll out.
Time. Cool.
You have failed this city.
Winter is coming.
Star-Lord.
Finish him. Hadouken! Fatality.
Elegantly appropriate that my star will be in front of the Guinness Book of World Records. One record I have inside, probably noted, is the fact that I've played Batman more than any other actor alive, at least 170 times. I've been out there fighting crime wherever I find it. Thank you very much. And the other record that may be in the book, I'm not sure, but I think I have the record as the actor who's waited the longest to get his star on the sidewalk.
And welcome to Free Your Geek. I am your host, Jay Free, and with me, as usual, is my co-host, KB.
This is nice. This is actually getting to be really nice. I enjoy this.
Oh yeah, when you're not too busy trying to turn your phone off and not prepared like a professional.
Hey, if you want to on the fly and reel, this is how it goes.
So KB didn't hear the intro. The intro, for those of you that are listening, is Adam West, his speech for accepting his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And the reason I use that audio clip is because our first news bit that we got, KB.
And I know nothing about the news on this show.
We should set this up that KB is in the dark, per usual, which is kind of fun because I like his reaction. So I basically made a list of different news items. We're going to start with some DC stuff and then move over to the Marvel. And the DC item that I have is that Batman, the character of Batman, is getting his own star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
So not Adam West, the character.
Adam West already has his.
Okay.
So this comes from, and we'll cite all the sources when you listen to the podcast. But this is from Superhero Hype. It says, hot on the heels of his 80th anniversary, Batman will be the first comic book superhero to receive a star on the historic site. However, he is not the first fictional character to receive that honor. The Walk of Fame has previously inducted
Mickey Mouse and Bugs Bunny?
Snoopy, Godzilla, Kermit the Frog, and The Simpsons.
Not Mickey Mouse or Bugs
No.
Bunny? Wow.
Well, again, according to Superhero Hype, I don't know all the fictional characters on, if those are all of them or if there are more. But some of the full list of the 2020 recipients: Julia Roberts, Spike Lee, 50 Cent, Billy Idol, Octavia Spencer, and Dave Chappelle. Now, coincidentally enough, Burt Ward, who starred as Robin on the 1960s Batman series, will also be honored with his own star. MCU veterans Chris Hemsworth, Lawrence Fishburne, and I don't even know how to say your name, so if I butcher it, Mahershala Ali from Luke Cage also made the cut, and they're going to get their own stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame as well. So, KB, what are your first initial thoughts of Batman being the first comic book superhero? Is it well deserved? Should it go to Superman? Because Superman kind of, or should it go, or with the attention that the MCU is getting, the Marvel Universe?
Spider-Man, maybe. Another one.
I mean, we want to talk historics. I mean, isn't Batman technically one of the oldest?
Yeah, but I mean, I think Spider-Man means a lot to a lot of different people, and I think that you could equally like. I feel like it's the closest Marvel counterpart to Batman. So like, I would make an argument for Spider-Man.
I would disagree with that. I would actually go with Batman, if not
Superman. Oh no, Batman's probably number one. I don't. I would agree with if people are arguing with me and say, yeah, he deserves it first. But
yeah, I mean, just think of it like not just the movies that the character of Batman has.
You have to think about the whole history of the character from beginning to inception to where it is now, and the growth of that character over the years, and all the great stories that have come off of Batman. You can't argue with the results. No, and I will go on record right now on this show that's saying, and I don't think anybody would argue with me. I think outside of maybe the Flash, Spider-Man, as you mentioned, and maybe the X-Men, Batman has the greatest gallery of villains and rogues, like to oppose him. I think he's got the best rogues gallery.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I think that's
Spider-Man's next. I think. And then Flash. I
would argue. Oh, I don't know about that. I'd go X-Men at some point too.
Really?
I mean, I don't want to get into this too much, but like the Brotherhood of Mutants. Juggernaut, Magneto, Mr. Sinister, Apocalypse, Mystique.
Yeah.
You can even go like Sauron, the Blob, Pyro, Avalanche, Shadow King.
I feel like
Hellfire Club.
But I feel like Spider-Man's villains are more well known.
Right,
to the general population.
But I'm saying who's got the more vast group of... Anyway.
It's close. I think it's close.
Those would be my top three. It would be Batman, Spider-Man, and then X-Men.
See, mine would be Batman, Spider-Man, then Flash. So we're in agreement here.
Yeah,
Isn't it odd that Superman's not in that conversation because his rogue gallery is just not really like impressive?
It's not that it's not impressive. I just think that Superman, for the character that he is,
not as vast. That's the word I should have used.
I mean, you have Doomsday, you have Zod, you have Lex Luthor, Parasite, maybe. Who else? Who else am I? Can't remember.
Abomination.
Abomination. I thought that was Hulk.
No, not Abomination.
See, this is what I got to deal with.
Yeah. I'm sorry. It's been a long day.
Yeah, it's KB's had a long. But what I'm saying is, Superman is so powerful. It's kind of you can only either combat him with somebody that's extremely intelligent and cunning, or somebody that's extremely powerful, or a combination of the two. Whereas, like Batman, for example, there's been the case made that all of his rogues are almost like if Batman were to wake up in a psych ward,
there's a psychological quality to all of them.
Each rogue would be a different area of his psyche as far as, like Two-Face, like the dual nature, Scarecrow, because he's, Batman likes to instill fear. So there's so many like different.
Doomsday, that's what I was thinking of. Sorry.
Didn't I say Doomsday?
I didn't think you did.
I might have.
Maybe not. Oh, well, whatever.
For those listening, go back, rewind, make sure I said it, and then tell KB he's wrong. But what do you think of any of the other the folks, or what? Just getting the stars as far as like the MCU folks and the character of Batman themselves? Is it well deserved that Batman should be the first hero?
Yeah, I think so.
I agree. I
think so. The only thing, and not to throw a damper on the party, but I was reading about. I read about this actually last year. Is that the Walk of Fame? They get a star on the Walk of Fame. It's actually not as challenging as people think it is. From what I understand, actors actually pay to get on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. I remember reading an article when Vin Diesel got his, and somebody dove into it and said, "Oh yeah, they fill out an application and then they have to pay like so many thousands of dollars, and then yada yada yada." Because if you think about what I first mentioned in the beginning, like Mickey Mouse and Bugs Bunny, you mean to tell me that they're not, on there, but yet we have people from some people that I've barely even heard of on the Walk of Fame. So I don't know. It just and like somebody like what did you say? Chris Hemsworth, was he on there?
Hemsworth, Lawrence Fishburne.
Why?
Well, Hemsworth has done again.
I get it, but you're gonna put him up there with the elite of past Hollywood stars like Tom Hanks or like big people like that. I don't know, the degree of fame, I guess, is what I'm getting at. So how does somebody like that get on there? And then, okay, well, why not Chris Evans? Why not Scarlett Johansson already? Scarlett Johansson, I think, has one.
It's okay. Now I'm not going to pull it up.
We're not going to pull it up.
Like Chris Pratt has his.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, it's like it waters it down without qualifications, is what I'm saying. what's Humphrey Bogart? What's just those guys that just actors and actresses that were legends versus somebody does some movies in the MCU and now they're a star. Their careers aren't even over yet. It's almost like it's like an athlete, right? Like an athlete has a great career, right? And then they go to the Hall of Fame. Now these people are getting stars like while they're in the middle of their careers, and what if that person just becomes a total just bomb, like flop all of a sudden?
But I'll argue that. Like, what about like George Clooney? Somebody like George Clooney, getting a star.
Yeah.
Like, he's still making great movies. Leonardo DiCaprio.
But the body of work is there.
I guess you could argue
you get what
that.
I'm saying?
I guess I would argue that, with all these blockbusters and these big movies basically
that it's going to be more common.
Banking, yeah. And I think, depending on where the room is and whatnot. But
breaking box office records and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, that's KB's thoughts on this. I want to get KB's thoughts on the following. The second piece of information we have kind of circles back around, not to the MCU, but the MCU like television universe. Krysten Ritter doesn't sound very interested in returning to the MCU as Jessica Jones.
Really?
This is via Cinema Blend. They said from her interview, do I think I'll play her again? I don't think so. I feel like I've played her, I feel really good about it. I feel good about closing the door. So then somebody on Twitter said, say it ain't so, Krysten, to which she replied, I would love to play Jessica Jones again in a heartbeat. She's the coolest character ever, and I love her. Hey, you never know what the future holds. As for now, I'm so proud of the long run and deep character work I got to do. It's been a dream, and never say never. So she was kind of backpedaling a little bit. I think it was a day after. So basically they had an interview, and then somebody like kind of reached out to her on Twitter, say, tell me you've been misquoted, which is when she came out with the she would play her again in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know she enjoys the character, but I'm thinking maybe she knows something we don't as far as...
Well, I mean, you don't know her personally. None of us know her personally. You don't know what her real feelings are about the show. In the media, people are going to say what they need to say, or to the public anyway, like what's correct to protect their interests.
Well,
and like I remember talking to at Comic-Con last year. I asked Finn Jones about that with Iron Fist because that was when Iron Fist first got canceled, and he said he basically said no. He just said no, it's not going to happen, and it's like, well, but maybe it will, given some of the things that we've heard that Disney Plus now and all this. Back then, it wasn't even a thought. So he doesn't know what's going to happen, and he's just saying the publicly correct thing to say, whether it's about contract negotiations or things that they can't say or whatever, or protecting their own interests. Or obviously in their career, they don't want to put out false rumors. So I feel like, with that, maybe she does know something. Maybe she was sour about Netflix canceling and then backpedaled on it when she heard something new. It's possible.
Or I was coming more from the angle that Disney, for whatever, when they canceled it, said, "Oh, we're going to go in a different direction. We're not going to be bringing this." Maybe they're not bringing it to Hulu or Disney Plus or anything. And she maybe was like saying, "Yeah, I'm not playing her again. We're closing the door on this because she knows it's a finality."
Yeah.
But then when somebody called her on it, she goes, "No, I don't hate the character. I love the character. It gave me all this. Never say never." But she was, trying to give.
So it does kind of solidify her point then of the first comment.
Right.
In a way.
I don't know exactly which angle she's taking, but it seemed like she did a little bit of backpedaling. So I thought that was.
I mean, she was the perfect casted actress for that.
I
she
loved
did an
it.
amazing job. So
now, have you watched?
I haven't had a chance.
KB is still from last week. He said he was going to watch Jessica Jones.
I didn't say last week. I said I would get to it.
So by the time we do like a preview or a review of Stranger Things, KB's going to.
I'll be ready.
Yeah, of course. Well, we don't know if we're going to get Krysten Ritter as Jessica Jones back, but I know what we are getting back.
What are we getting back?
We're getting
Daredevil?
Avengers Endgame is being re-released in the theater.
I heard about that.
Did you? So tickets are going on sale. It's going to be out, I think, this weekend.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I didn't get the actual release date, but it's supposed to be before Spider-Man: Homecoming, and that's out a week from this Friday, upcoming Friday. So it's like in the middle, right after the 4th.
Yeah.
But
So is it only going to be in the theater for the week
I think it's
or weekend?
I think they're gonna try to like surpass Avatar. I
They're
think
close. I haven't read the numbers in a while. I
it's
know
just-
they were right up there.
Yeah, so I think it's a last minute cash grab
Yep.
to get those last people because they're promising some added features.
Okay.
Disney, I guess, came out with the added features, and I am very, very sour on this. So I want to get your opinion on it.
So tell me about your sourness.
The movie will be the same as it was before, save for 3 additional pieces. 1, there's going to be an intro from director Anthony Russo. 2, a quote-unquote unfinished deleted scene. And 3, a sneak peek at Spider-Man Far From Home. That's going to be what they're adding to their re-release of Endgame. So basically, if you really want to hear the intro from Anthony Russo, great, but an unfinished deleted scene and then a preview of Spider-Man Far From Home, which is coming out the week after. I just think it's such a cash grab.
It is.
I think it's just like, hey, we want to surpass Avatar. We want to blow them out of the water. This is the way we're going to do it. It's going to be all these cool new features, and it's like a friggin'...
Yeah, but Disney's known for cash grabbing. I mean, it's not...
Oh,
Any other company, I'd be really
it
pissed
makes
off.
me-
But with them, it's like it's what they do. We don't know this by now.
Ugh.
Jesus, Family Guy showed it a long time ago with Brian Griffin trying to sell his script to Michael Eisner, and he left it in his car. Michael Eisner's like puts a little hat on him, says, "What's your name?" Brian. Puts on his hat, says, "Bring money," and runs. Like they are. It's a cash grab company. Like they're going to do. And I think the thing is too is I don't know how they feel. I haven't read a lot about it, but like the Avatar projects that are coming up. I don't know. Like, I feel like that's going to fail. I don't know why. I just have like this feeling like that's going to fail. And I think this kind of, I don't want to say it. It's like, I don't know if I want to say they're throwing their nose up to James Cameron. Because James Cameron, I think on record before, when superhero movies first started really, really taking off, he was a little sour on them about, oh, everything's a superhero movie now, blah, 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 blah. So maybe some executives like, you know what? I don't care about this. I don't care if we crush his record or whatever, and we're just going to do this. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying in the background, somebody somewhere is like, yeah, we gotta knock James off his pedal. So I just think that's a pause. You never know what goes on behind closed doors. But Avatar, like the Avatar movies, I just don't see them being good. And I think this is really going to just psych up the MCU because obviously Endgame was so phenomenal. People are going to go see it again. There's no question. People are going to go see it again. But it's also that nice refresher before Spider-Man. You know, to just kind of rehash everything.
Yeah, I think it's going to set the emotional
and
tone.
if people hadn't seen it, if for some reason they missed Endgame, now they can go see it and then go see Spider-Man if they want. So it makes a lot of sense.
Well, and plus the plot of Homecoming, which we'll get into after the break, and this is why I was putting the break.
Not Homecoming, Far From Home, you mean?
Did I say Homecoming?
Yeah,
Far From Home.
Far From Home.
I apologize. Thank you for catching that, KB.
Yep.
Yeah, so Far From Home is going to be our next topic after the break. But yeah, we'll be getting back to that as Avengers Endgame is going back to the theater. We're going to be going back to Phase 3, and then we're going to be talking about some Phase 4.
Ooh,
So
Phase 3 and Phase 4 talk.
Yes, we'll be right back after these messages. The Free Your Geek podcast is proud to be part of the 4041 Media family. 4041 Media is a collection of podcasts from the southeastern Massachusetts region. And in addition to Free Your Geek, you can listen to the Psych Your Crime podcast, where Nicole Mann's most recent episode, Dying for Fatherhood, details the case of John Corbett, an Irish father of 2 who fell for his young American nanny Molly. Or, if movies are your thing, check out the cast of characters over at Movie Theater Time Machine, where the month of June is a Robin Williams movie tribute. 4041 Media, that's 4041media.com. By listeners, for listeners.
Before I worked for S.H.I.E.L.D., I made a name for myself. I have a very specific skill set. I didn't care who I used it for. Or on. I got on S.H.I.E.L.D.'s radar in a bad way. Agent Barton was sent to kill me. He made a different call.
And what will you do if I vow to spare him?
Not let you out.
Oh, no, but I like this. Your world in the balance, and you bargained for one man.
Regimes fall every day. I tend not to weep over that. I'm Russian. Or I was.
And what are you now?
It's really not that complicated. I got red in my ledger. I'd like to wipe it out.
Can you? Can you wipe out that much red? Dreykov's daughter? Sao Paulo? The hospital fire? Barton told me everything. Your ledger is dripping. It's gushing red, and you think saving a man no more virtuous than yourself will change anything? This is the basest sentimentality. This is a child at prayer. Pathetic! You lie and kill in the service of liars and killers. You pretend to be separate, to have your own code, something that makes up for the horrors. But they are part of you, and they will never go away.
I won't touch Barton, not until I make him kill you. Slowly, intimately, in every way he knows you fear. And then he'll wake just long enough to see his good work. And when he screams, I'll split his skull. This is my bargain, you mewling quim.
You're a monster.
Oh no. You brought the monster.
So, Banner. That's your play.
What?
Loki means to unleash the Hulk. Keep Banner in the lab. I'm on my way. Send Thor as well. Thank you for your cooperation.
And thank you for your cooperation as we are back now on For Your Geek. I'm still Jay Free and he's still KB. And now, go ahead, KB.
That's me.
That is KB. I like that. KB, that's me.
KB, that's me.
All right. As I mentioned before the break, we're going to be talking a little bit more about Marvel Phase 3 because in a few weeks.
I have to pause here for a second.
Okay.
What is that shirt you're wearing?
Okay. So this is it's a wrestling shirt. It's character Bray Wyatt when he had the Wyatt family. It's
okay. Yeah, I don't follow wrestling.
It's creepy. It's
I just thought evil Pikachu. That was all I thought. So.
Well, no, it's a sheep mask. It's a whole thing.
Trust me, people. It's evil Pikachu.
Okay, well, hey, got to catch them all. Hey, speaking of that, we didn't really touch upon it. I want to bring it up, but the new Wizards Unite game that just came out for mobile is basically Pokemon Go, but in the Harry Potter universe.
Yeah, I heard about that.
I've been playing it. It's pretty cool. Anyway, back on track. Phase 3, Kevin Feige explains why Spider-Man Far From Home wraps Marvel's Phase 3, and it wasn't Avengers Endgame to wrap it up.
Okay.
This is also from Superhero Hype. And Kevin Feige is quoted as saying, "As we were working on Endgame, we realized that the true end of the entire Infinity Saga, the final film of Phase 3, had to be Spider-Man Far From Home because, spoiler, which we should mention also, spoiler, we lose Tony Stark at the end of Endgame. The relationship between Peter Parker and Tony Stark is so special over the five films that Tom Holland has portrayed Spider-Man in the MCU that we needed to see where his journey went, and we see how does Spider-Man step out of the shadow of his mentor, Tony Stark, and become the true hero that he was always meant to be." So that is the reasoning why Spider-Man Far From Home is wrapping up the Phase 3 piece of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Interesting.
That's really interesting. I mean, is that their way of shifting away from the Avengers altogether and just saying like, hey, because there's been no Avenger talk. There's been no talk of a new Avengers, has there?
No, but we'll be getting to that in the next piece of news
in the Phase 4 stuff. So it's meant to just close the book on Phase 3.
And I think it's interesting, yes, because when you really look at it too, for me, I have a friend of mine who hadn't seen Spider-Man Homecoming yet. And that
was a good movie.
It was great.
That was really good.
And we watched it in preparation because we're going to go see Spider-Man Far From Home.
Yep.
And we're talking about that, and I just like I didn't really realize it. I mean, I pieced it all together, but it's just when you watch it after watching Endgame and you see like almost like Peter treating Tony Stark like a father. You know, like you're not here. You know, I need help, and you're not around, and this and that, and I'm trying to do it by myself. And
lost his dad, lost Uncle Ben.
Well, that my point to that though is that, you know, Stark says to him, you know, if you're nothing without the suit, then you don't deserve the suit. And it's, you know, Stark was trying to like get him not to handle all these big things, but just be the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
They go out of their way to mention it in Spider-Man Homecoming. And then later on in Endgame, is it Endgame? No, it's Infinity War, where Spider-Man tells Tony Stark, like when he jumps on the spaceship, and Stark said, I wanted you to go home. And Peter looks at him and says, there's no friendly neighborhood Spider-Man if there's no longer a neighborhood. And it's just like, it's such a great point. Like, you know, he's stepping up to become this hero.
Yep.
And then with Stark losing him at the end of Infinity War, you know, after all that and seeing the potential of this kid and just like growing and caring for him, and then to getting him back in Endgame and giving him that hug that he always wanted, because they've been alluding to that since Spider-Man Homecoming. And then for Peter now to lose Tony and now have to step out on his own, not on his own, but without his mentor, you know what I mean? He's going to still have Happy, as we've seen in the trailers. But I think it's going to be really interesting, and I think it's a cool way to close out, even though it might not be this gigantic, epic, like huge otherworldly battle with the Mad Titan Thanos. I think that this
looks like it's going to be pretty epic, though.
Right. It's well, in an extent, it's like when you're reading a good book or anything else, you always have that big battle or that big climax, and then you have kind of like that last chapter or that last couple minutes of any movie where you kind of like settle it down. From an overall storytelling perspective, this is the last chapter of a particular book where they kind of like have that emotional, like you tie everything up together and you have that emotional closure, if you will. So I'm curious to see how they wrap that up.
Great way to introduce Mysterio too.
I think I've been such a fan of Mysterio. I've mentioned in multiple podcasts before on the show. If you go back, I forget which episodes, but I had an idea of Mysterio becoming a villain, you know, using Mary Jane as like the struggling actress, the special effects guy on this low budget movie she's shooting, develops a crush on her, an obsession with her, which then puts him, you know, in the forefront, and then he becomes Mysterio and be a whole thing. And, you know, they're going a different route with it. They're going multiverse, which is also very intriguing.
Opens a lot of doors.
So is that how we're getting and I think we talked about this before, but is that how we're getting the X-Men, the Fantastic Four, all that universe into the MCU?
That would be a clear path. I mean, you can do anything with a multiverse. I mean, I think DC's proven that time and time again. I mean, think about it. DC centers around their multiverse.
Right. They got heroes, you know, Power Girl and Supergirl.
And you can reboot heroes in any different image that you want and say they're from this world or from that world and make any story you want. It opens the library, really. If you think about it, if you go to the history of the comics, DC, like I said, DC's proven it time and time again. You know, how many versions of Batman are there? How many versions of Superman are there in all of these different multiverses? You could do the same thing in the Marvel universe. You know, or does this lead into Secret Wars?
Refresh my memory. Secret Wars.
Dr. Doom basically ends up becoming a god just in general, and then he basically recreates the world in his own image. And I think when they're done, it ends up with a multiverse, if I remember correctly. It's been a while since I read it. Something along those lines.
I wouldn't go that route right away. I mean, I think you need to introduce all these new characters first.
Oh, I'm not saying go the route, but just introduce the concept. Open the door of this is out there, like the possibility
but
exists.
I think if we use the idea like of the trilogy of movies, so I think we're going to get 3 Fantastic Four movies, 3 Captain Marvel movies, 3 Black Panther movies. We're going to get a third Guardians. There's more than likely going to be a second Doctor Strange,
third Spider-Man,
third Ant-Man. I think we're going to get all that, and then with the new stuff, and then, you know, we could lead into like 3 Fantastic Four. Like I said, I think I already mentioned 3 Fantastic Fours, and then have Doom be like the centerpiece.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking like Phase 4, 5, and 6 almost.
I'm talking like the next like 15 years or so.
Yeah.
They stay this course. But speaking of Phase 4, let's jump into that. This next piece is going to contain spoilers because some set photos leaked from the Black Widow movie.
Doesn't spoil me because I haven't seen them.
Okay, great. Wait, so if you haven't seen them, wouldn't it be considered a spoiler since you don't know about it?
That's what I'm saying. It's not a spoiler for me.
I think. Oh, so you don't care?
So I can't. No, I can't see them. In other words, like you've seen them. You might talk about them, but I haven't seen them to really appreciate them.
Semantics.
Yes.
All right. So this is from BGR. Spoilers from the Black Widow movie. Again, the first spoiler, which I think is a surprise to no
So
one.
is it already in production?
Yes.
Okay.
Filming has moved to Budapest,
Interesting.
which is a logical move for Marvel. First of all,
Mm-hmm.
it's essential for the story,
Yep.
as both Natasha and Clint Barton have referenced the European capital over and over
Yep.
again in previous Avengers movies.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever happened in Budapest should be revealed on screen.
Boba Fett. Did you say Boba Fett?
Yeah, well, Mushmouth. So whatever happened in Budapest should be revealed on screen in the next film. And then the second spoiler, and KB, you might have more information on this than I do. Photos that were reportedly taken on set showed 2 wooden boxes, and you can see the labels. One reads Natasha, the other one reads Yelena.
Yelena.
And apparently that refers to Yelena Belova, who is likely to pick up the Black Widow mantle now
Yep.
that Natasha is dead. So we might see her appear in other Avengers team-ups in the future.
Yeah, there was a Black Widow comic a while back that they actually like featured her like after. I think it was like the last run of Black Widow. I think Black Widow #1 had like a short story on her about how she, you know, comes from what is it, the Red Room and all that stuff. I don't remember. It was a long time ago, but yeah, there is a successor that's, you know, pretty good.
So I think what we're going to see is we're going to see Natasha, you know, possibly with a partner.
Yeah.
Yelena, and then maybe now that Natasha's dead, she's stepping up to the role, and she's going to be the new Black Widow, which I'm not sure how I feel about that. I'm not sure who they cast as Yelena, if that's even, again, it's
all
purported.
rumors,
Yeah, it's all rumors. It could be trolling us. But if that's the case, they could probably get another actor to play Yelena for the next, sign her to a contract for another 6 to 12 picture deal. Maybe somebody that's not as has the same star power as a Scarlett Johansson. Maybe somebody a little lesser known that you can get him for X amount of picture deals for a certain amount that won't require the same type of budget.
When he picked up most of the Avengers cast, they weren't as well known. Obviously, they didn't get the paychecks that they probably should have when they signed their deals. You know what I mean? Like now, those guys do movies after the MCU. Their paychecks are going to be through the roof. So. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. And do they know an estimated release date on that?
I don't have that information.
That just that it's in production, I would think that they must know, like, there must be a release date somewhere.
It's going to be 2020. So
Yeah. So
maybe summer 2020. I don't know.
I guess that's the question. Is that the next movie?
Well, we have Spider-Man, and then I think...
Because Guardians hasn't started shooting yet.
Guardians hasn't started yet.
Because Gunn's working on the Suicide Squad
I think
reboot.
Suicide Squad is starting production in September.
So, yeah, so there's still... That takes a while, and then...
So it probably will be the Black Widow movie is the next one.
Yeah.
Because
there's 3 dates for 2020, I think, if I remember correctly. So I'd be curious to see if they're actually going to hit us with 3 movies or 2. It might be 2. I remember looking at the dates a while ago, but yeah, I mean, I'm excited for that. But I guess the other thing I have to say is that, I mean, the first rumor was that this Black Widow movie was supposed to be like a prequel,
which it sounds like it's going.
Sounds like it is, but like you're talking about a successor, then that kind of doesn't make it a prequel. If it depends on the story, I guess.
Well, I think if it's set in the past, if it's set in 15 years in the past,
just introducing the character,
or like so the first Avengers was what 2012.
Yep, I think so.
So what if this is set in like 2010 or like 2009, something along those lines, where it's like, okay, it's been in the Marvel timeline now it's 2023, so it's been 14 years later. So if she's with like teenage sidekick or somebody else, like think of it like we talked about last week with Logan and X-23. If it's a younger kid at that point, and then we see her like be recast as now an older, an older person, somebody in their early to mid 20s, and you get them for the next 12 years into their mid 30s, it's doable. So
yeah, I mean it sounds like it. Are you excited for a Black Widow movie?
I'm I'm stoked for it.
Yeah.
I think Scarlett Johansson played the character so well. Again, from the comics, you tend to like, or even like video games and cartoons, you tend to put the Russian accent when she's speaking. But I mean, for the longest time, I mean, and I know people will fight me on this as far as like,
oh, don't you know everything has to be the MCU?
No. But I'm saying as far as strong women in a superhero flick, I mean, yes, they sexualize her a little bit, in Iron Man 2 and whatnot, and and they tried to make it into a love
Winter
story.
Soldier, maybe a little bit.
Well, I think it was more
Not so
that,
much.
and then Age of Ultron, where they're hiding, and she comes out of the shower, and she's in the towel with the Hulk, and I'm just like, or Banner. I get that, but I mean, just as far as a character goes, as like the fact that she's cunning and she's skilled,
And she has no powers.
and she has no power. She's just a great fighter. And just to see her like kind of, work alongside Captain America, work alongside Iron Man, and then be part of that core team of Avengers. And yes, a little bit later we got Wonder Woman, which was an amazing DC flick, but as far as strong female superhero characters, I mean, what else have we
I
had?
think Captain Marvel raised the bar again.
Well, Captain Marvel, but I'm saying before that, there was Black Widow.
Yeah.
And then they introduced
The initial-
Scarlet Witch and Captain Marvel and, the Wasp and, Gamora and Nebula. Yeah. But I'm saying Black Widow was kind of the first in this iteration of the MCU. Think about even some of the previous superhero movies. I mean, any of the Superman. I mean, I guess you could say X-Men, but again, Rogue, or even Jean to an
None
extent.
of them are a main focus.
Right. It was all Wolverine and Xavier. And then Rogue was kind of like the backdrop, in the first X-Men movie back in early 2000s.
Had the Dark Phoenix movie been more successful, had it not,
but it's still,
had it be, what's the word I'm looking for? Had it not been the only movie and they were still expanding on the X-Men universe, maybe we'd see something come out of that. But
again, you're saying it's all after Scarlett Johansson's portrayal of Black Widow.
There's nobody before.
I mean, you can even go back to the Burton Batman movies where it's like you had Vicky Vale, you had, I guess you could say maybe, even though she wasn't a hero, was
Selena Kyle.
Well, I'm trying to think of the Michelle Pfeiffer, who again played Janet, or was it? Yeah, Janet in Ant-Man and the Wasp. So I think, but she was, again, she's not the main focus. She's a secondary character in the movie because the main focus is Batman. And I just think, she was skilled and but again, it was very sexualized with her costume and just the way she, and that's fine for the time being what it was. But now I think we're at a point where we can see somebody like a female, like almost like genderless, like it's a female, but she kicks ass and she's badass, and both guys and girls want to go to the movies.
What
to see
about Catwoman in The Dark Knight Rises?
But again, it's.
I know, but I'm saying, did you think that was over sexual?
I don't think it was over sexual. I just don't think they gave her
enough to do.
Gave her enough to do. Like how much of an impact did she really
have
make?
In the
she
movie.
basically
she disappears for a while too,
she played the villain for part of it, where she's like deceiving Bruce Wayne, deceiving Batman. She's
not
looking
a
out for herself.
Hero.
Yeah,
not a role model.
Yeah, but it's like I think the fact that just somebody who's super skilled and has a particular skill set and mentality and just the ability to do what she thinks is right and to help like save the planet from the Chitauri, anything like the core team. People goof on Hawkeye as much as they want because all he does is shoot his arrows. But I mean, him and Nat were the two human, like non-powered people on the team. Without any special suits or enhanced abilities, they were the two that were there because they were the best of the best. And just to see her now get her own movie, I think is going to be, especially after all the work she's done in the previous movies, I think it's, first of all, it's great for her, and second of all, I think it's great for the character, which is the most important thing. So that's my feelings on that.
You know what I think? I think Hawkeye should get his own movie or show at least.
I think
at least a show.
I think they. Well, I don't know.
I just look at it as the comic was so successful, the Hawkeye comic, that where they basically look at Hawkeye's life away from the Avengers and away from everything, and it was so successful, and it brought Kate Bishop really into like focus. I mean that comic won tons of awards. I got the hardcover. It's one of the best comics I've ever read, and people are very interested in, well, what is Clint Barton? Scratch the family. Maybe because he doesn't have his family anymore, right? Did his family come back?
His family's back, yeah.
So then maybe that'd be a little tough, but like in the comics, he like buys an apartment building. There's all these interesting characters. It has more of a Jessica Jonesy kind of feel to it, and I would love to see something like that. I just want to explore the character more.
Yeah, I don't know if they'd do something like that from the way they've already set him up in the MCU, but I think some of the ideas, what I'd love to see now we're just going into like a speculatory mode, but speculative. I want to think about this. The thing I was just thinking of is, what if we have, I can't think of her name. What's Ant-Man's daughter's name?
I cannot think of it off the top of
Well,
my head.
she's now a young
Yeah.
adult. She's a teenager now, as at the end of Endgame. What if because isn't she a character in Cassie? Isn't Cassie Lang like a hero in her own right, like on the Young Avengers or something like that? I can't remember. I'm gonna look it up. KB, you talk a little bit more. Okay, let's put it this way. Let's talk about some of the things we want to see in the Disney streaming service. Loki, Falcon and Winter Soldier. Talk about what you'd like to see in some of those.
And then we've got the other one, right? Vision and Scarlet Witch.
Yeah.
So that one's out there. I think that would be the one I'm most excited for. I think a lot of people would be most excited for Loki. And Loki's a great character. I know my daughter's really excited. She just loves Tom Hiddleston. But basically, if I had to say in order the ones that I'd like, I'd say the Vision and Scarlet Witch probably first, then Loki, and then Falcon and Winter Soldier. The Falcon and Winter Soldier thing, the thing that is interesting about it is like, why is he not called Captain America? Why is it not Captain America Winter Soldier? Maybe people just aren't used to the idea yet. Maybe that's where they're going to transition him to fully being Captain America in that show. And then do you plop these characters back in the MCU in another phase? I guess that's my next, the next thing I think about. Do you bring, in future movies, phase 4, phase 5, 6, whatever you want to call it, where do these characters continue to fit in from the shows? Do they come back? Are they much older? What's their, what are their stories? So it's really, really interesting to see what they're going to do with those. And the Loki one, my thought on it is how, like, what are they going to do within that show?
Well, I think the Loki specifically is going to be set in a separate timeline where he escapes with the Tesseract from Endgame. I think Winter Soldier and Falcon might actually be set a little bit more in the past.
Yeah.
Because I think they're all going to be timepieces, because I think they said the same thing with like Vision and Scarlet Witch is going to be set in the past as well. So maybe it's going to be a whole multiverse thing. And maybe we'll get a multiverse where Cassie Lang, also known as Stature and Stinger in the comics, gets her own power set, and she can fight alongside her dad and Hope as Ant-Man, the Wasp, and the Stinger.
If Pepper Potts can become Rescue,
Let's rescue the listeners from this diatribe and end the show. Ladies and gentlemen, please follow us on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook. We're Free Your Geek on Instagram, Free Your Geek on Twitter, Free Your Geek on Facebook.
jfreethegeek.com.
jfreethegeek.com. Check out the conglomerate we're part of, 4041 Media. That's 4041media.com. By listeners, for listeners. They have a great number of podcasts on there, including Psych Your Crime and Movie Theater Time Machine. KB, hit him with the catchphrase. Let's get out of here.
Get your geek on.
Bye, everybody.
You're still here. It's over. Go home.